In this episode, I continue my journey through Jixi, immersing myself in the astounding artistry of ancient Huizhou civilization. From architecture to calligraphy, it's a utopia for creative souls, where woodcarvers and ink makers live and breathe their art.
G'day guys, pretty nice view behind me, hey? So I'm here in Xuancheng City in Anhui Province, and to be more precise, this is Jixi County. To be even more precise, behind me there is Longchuan Village. Actually, this place can be considered the cradle of Hui culture. My name's Dui, welcome to Travelogue.
Hui culture stemmed from a civilization that originated in the region of ancient Huizhou, which included Jixi. It was a society that put a deep emphasis on family ties, Confucian thought, and commerce. Elements of these have survived down through the ages and, to this day, are still manifest in villages like Longchuan, predominantly in the customs and architecture. Walking through Longchuan is like stumbling into a painted watercolor dream, transporting me back in time. In fact, this beguiling little place, nestled in the countryside just 12 kilometers east of Jixi's town center, is no less than 1600 years old. Longchuan was first settled by the Hu family, and many of the buildings constructed back then are still standing today. But of course, their traditional white walls, grey tiles, and sumptuous yet subtle decorative designs need regular and meticulous restorative care. I take a tiny peek inside the Hu ancestral hall, built as a place for clan meetings and ancestor worship, and then leave the construction workers to their jobs. On the cobbled riverbanks of Longchuan, everywhere I look, there is reason to pause and admire.
Hui architecture is probably one of China's most distinctive architectural styles, and it's most clearly represented in places like homes, ancestral halls, and memorial archways like this one. And this one has been restored, but the one over there is standing in all its original glory. Memorial archways, or paifang in Chinese, are often built to recognize someone's achievements, and usually the bigger their achievement, the larger the paifang will be and the more elaborate the design. Now this one here was built in honor of a guy called Huizhou, and it was 450 years ago that it was erected. Now this guy, he was famous because he was a high-ranking military officer who led forces and defeated pirates on China's eastern seaboard. He also lived in this village, and we're going to have a look at his place later.
In the meantime, I go with the flow. That seems to be the method by which Longchuan folk live, with time slipping away slowly. Minutes become hours, days become months, years become centuries, and yet these buildings endure. For a while, I deliberately disorient myself in the mossy, meandering alleyways, savouring the antiquity. With mist-carpeted mountains in the background, Longchuan is a sanctuary of serenity. But having survived so many dynasties, it is also a living microcosm of Chinese history. At the edge of the village, I come across the place I mentioned we'd visit, a housing compound built in the 1500s. Inside, it's as if I've stumbled across the oriental version of the Garden of Eden, with its tangled plants and trembling pools, although with the layout of a gigantic maze.
Now, this is another one of Longchuan's many iconic tourist attractions. It's Huizhou's former residence. Of course, after about 500 years, it's not everything it used to be. But if you start to wander around the labyrinth, you can feel the walls and doors and everything start to come alive. And maybe you can even imagine what this place might have been like in its heyday, in all its opulence and sophistication.
It's dusty, dark, and a little dank inside, but I think this adds to the surreptitious appeal of this half-a-millennium-old home.
So when you look around, you'll notice that there are lots of things that are small but really interesting, like this one, which is not exactly small, but it is interesting. And what it was used for in its heyday was as a shield to protect people's privacy. And if you look much closer, you'll notice how intricate the carving is. Bet you can't find something like this in IKEA.
It was during the Ming Dynasty, which is when Hu Zongxian lived, that Hui commerce brought prosperity to this region, allowing merchants and high-ranking officials to indulge in the traditional arts of carving, painting, and woodwork. From then on, Hui culture truly flourished, peaking in the Qing Dynasty, and it spread from here along the Yangtze. A fundamental principle of Hui architecture is balance between man-made structures and their natural surroundings. I figure it's this hypnotic harmony that has left me feeling so content. After a quick break, it's straight back into exploring, now that the sun's come out. Coming up next, I marvel at the extraordinary handiwork of a master woodcarver, and while walking through a valley, discover which high-profile Chinese person Mother Nature chose to immortalize in stone. In this episode, I continue my journey through Jixi, immersing myself in the astounding artistry of ancient Huizhou civilization. From architecture to calligraphy, it's a utopia for creative souls, where woodcarvers and ink makers live and breathe their art. Having discovered the architectural delights of Hui culture, I'm curious about the process of their creation. The ancient Huizhou practice of carving stone, brick, and wood is renowned throughout China. Out of the three, wood carving exhibits the most exquisite craftsmanship. So here I am at a wood carving factory in Jixi County. Huizhou wood carving dates all the way back to the Song dynasty, when it played a more practical role, like in doors and balustrades. Over the centuries, as the Huizhou businessmen grew much wealthier, they became more demanding and ordered wood carving artisans to create impossibly ornate, high-relief masterpieces. Besides its substantial artistic weight, Huizhou wood carving has deep cultural merits. The artworks tell stories, depict legends, and portray Confucian principles such as filial piety and loyalty. Eventually, aesthetics prevailed over functionality, and these days the quality of the end product is astounding. Mr. Ni is a master woodcarver, and he runs the factory. I can't believe my eyes when I witness his staggering dexterity and precision.
房间里面的东西一般都不愿意去给外人看到，对不对？那用什么办法呢？以前没有玻璃，是不是？只能用纸把糊一下，那纸一捅就破了呀。所以说，在窗户底下那么一块，就用这块板把它拦住，就是说窗户的栏板就是这样子，那叫窗栏板。
Hui architecture is known for its simplicity and elegance, but if you look closer, you'll notice that there are lots of decorations and they're incredibly detailed, like this one, which used to have the purpose of protecting privacy for the inhabitants of the house by putting it on the windowsill. But these days, it's mainly just for decoration. And this one, I'm not sure what the story is about, but it looks like there are 50 kids having a party with a lion and dragon and lots of instruments.
你怎么想那个样子有怎么样的？
这个小孩的脸嘛，基本上都是这样。
全部都有笑吗？嗯。
And each of the 50 kids, their heads the size of my pinky nail, has a different expression. Incredibly, there's no draft, no sketch or blueprint.
That's still
要多少时间做这个？
这个啊，这个要做好几个月的。
好几个月。
刀的话有很多种呀，从制胚到结束的话，应该要200把刀。
200把刀？
要200把刀。你像现在这一套的话，就有最起码要30把了。
Oh, wow. So these carvers use 200 different knives for a difficult masterpiece. And I suppose they're like painters' paintbrushes. Each one is different with a different shape and a different function. Like this one, I think he said, was to scoop the wood from behind to give the artwork a 3D effect. And it looks like it's popping out at you because it is. Looks like a dentist equipment, but it's actually the scalpel that's used to scoop the wood.
"22 kilometers east of Jixi's town centre is a mountain range known for its mystery. I've come to find out why, and it seems many others have the same idea.
So here we are in Longchuan Valley. It's a beautiful morning for a grueling hike downwards. Now this is an icon of the area. It's called Bai Zhang Yan. Bai means 100. Zhang is, I think it's a unit of measurement that's equivalent to about 3 meters, and Yan means rock. So this is a one rock formation that's a sheer drop down. So if you look higher, higher, that is the top of the cliff. Mother Nature looks like it did have a bit of fun creating this place. Anyway, I think it's time for the hike.
It turns out this grueling hike is a leisurely stroll downhill, complete with stairs and safety rails. I'm not complaining. The sun's out and there's plenty of colour and movement. The biggest adrenaline rush you get is while crossing the hanging bridges. This canyon boasts 43 rare species of plants, rocks that are millions of years old, limpid pools, and a stony spectacle that many make a pilgrimage especially to see.
This fertile region is known for producing many famous literati and artists, but who knew that Mother Nature was quite the sculptor herself? What do you reckon? Someone you know or a famous Chinese celebrity?
Coming up next, putting the eye into ink. I witness the ancient technique of ink making, find out why Hui ink is said to be the best in the world, and learn to ink my Chinese name in a private calligraphy lesson. Today, here in Jixi, I'm going to find out about another exceedingly important feature of Huizhou culture. No, this isn't some freaky fire-worshipping ritual. It's the age-old method of making ink. It begins with collecting soot, which is then combined with organic glue and other secret ingredients. Hui ink is considered the finest in the world. It's one of what are known as the 4 treasures of the study: brush, paper, inkstone, and ink stick, the 4 indispensable items for ancient Chinese scholars. Anhui Province is renowned for producing all 4 treasures. We're at the Huizhou ink factory, which began production in 1782. It's the oldest and most famous Hui ink factory in China. Despite falling demand for ink, it remains one of the country's major producers of ink sticks. Once the mixture is compressed and molded, most commonly into a long rectangular shape, it's trimmed and then neatly laid out to air for several months. And once it's dry, it's ready to be decorated. The creation of these ink sticks became an art in the Qing dynasty, when they were crafted into different shapes and decorated with pictures and poems. And some of them are such highly collectible items that they're even worth more than their weight in gold. Mr. Wang is an ink master who's inherited the knowledge and skills for making hui ink. It's a procedure that's been officially acknowledged as an intangible cultural heritage.
好木很贵，实际上呢还是原材料问题。那么可能比方说中国传统的这种名贵中药材，它的加入，它会防止这种墨的发霉啊，那么色香，还有熊胆，增高亮度，增高它的墨色，包括它着色力、对质之类的。那么比方说要添加一些金箔啊，这些犀牛角，这些古代这些东西，这种名贵中药加起以后呢，那它的整个价格又上来了。
Chinese culture lesson with Zhui 101. Now, if I remember everything that Mr. Wang taught me just then, there are 4 ways of telling what makes a good ink stick. Firstly, it must be lightweight, meaning that it's made of good materials and the particles of carbon that make up this ink stick were really small. And secondly, it sounds like it's really dense, so there's no air inside, meaning that it won't crack in the future. Now, thirdly, if you mix it with just a little bit of water, the ink will come out straight away, meaning the artist will save a lot of time when the inspiration hits. And lastly, look at this ink stick. It's nice and shiny, like polished jade. Now, I came here not even knowing that ink came in the form of solids, and now I can be an international ink stick quality judge. All right.
In the afternoon, I hit up Jixi town centre. After chatting to some dama, or dancing retirees, I saunter through the streets. And something reminiscent of my primary school days catches my eye. Okay, I definitely wasn't nearly as focused or well-behaved, or as talented for that matter, but I did stay back once a week for a calligraphy lesson. And I had a wonderful teacher too. In our increasingly computerized world, the art of handwritten Chinese is vanishing. So, seeing a whole class of kiddies wielding brushes dipped in ink is a surprisingly touching moment for me.
2天嘛，周末我2天，我星期6、星期天嘛，是吧？
Well, I was strolling around on the back streets of Jixi County, and I noticed an open classroom with all these little kids inside, and they're all doing Chinese calligraphy. It reminds me a little bit about when I was a dorky little kid and I really liked lettering, so I did extracurricular calligraphy classes, but of course it was in English. And this is just something completely different altogether. This little sweaty munchkin, just look at what he's doing, it's incredible. I reckon I should give this a go. Guang. Guanghai. Oh my gosh. Looks like it's all about the way you move the brush and the pressure and angle. that means.
Watching the sea and listening to the waves. That's what the calligraphy reads. It implies staying calm and maintaining humility even after considerable success. Of course, Mr. Wang has made it look awfully easy. It took all of 3 minutes from start to finish.
Gotta get myself one of these things.
就完整的这样就。
Oh, so nice. Alright, my turn. This maestro is showing me how to write my Chinese name. Don't think I can do this.
Okay. 你看，从这里起，横竖撇，啊，横竖撇，这样，再，
See? I think he's being very nice.
It probably doesn't look too bad to an untrained eye, but I think I know what he's thinking. They're just blobs of ink.
Oh God, that is awful.
再写。
Oh, 不要了。
熟练一点吧。
My hand's too tired. What do you guys think, hey? 你觉得哪一个是我写的？这两个。They can tell straight away which one. Oh, obviously. 写到怎么样啊？
写得好哎。
They're being very generous with the comments, obviously. 写得好吗？好。That's a lie right there. All right. I guess I've got a souvenir for myself. Chinese calligraphy is actually, you know, it's worth a lot, but I guess it takes time and practice. And this one might have to pay someone to actually take it away from me. Well, this is it from Jixi County. We've just spent an amazing 7 days here, and we've barely just opened the lid to a wealth of Hui culture and history. Next destination, the neighbouring county of Jingda. Join me on Travelogue. I'm Joy.